Getting ready for NFL Week 2. We are back here to preview all 16 Week 2 games. Gino Bacola alongside Eric from ETOP21 Sports. And before we get into previewing Week 2 games, we want to let you know about the Bet on Sports section of Daily Racing Form. So if you go to drf.com, you'll see up in the right-hand corner, there's a football. You can click Bet on Sports. It'll take you right to this section. And if you click on offers, it'll actually show you all the different sportsbook promos, bonuses, codes. It'll give you comparisons, analysis. It lets you know which states you're in, what the promos detail, and you can get all the way up to $5,000 in offers when you head and check out all the different bonuses that you can claim right there. Bet on Sports. That's how we want to start, Eric. It's always nice when you can have a few free plays and a few free wagers there. So check out this section before you make your wagers, and then we'll move on in and start making our wagers. And Eric, as I get to the lines, last week, I think we had favorites 8 and 7 against the spread, so pretty evenly matched. And I saw it was leaning heavily to the unders. I think 12 and 4 after Monday Night Football. A couple of the things that you like to play, some of those you and I like to play, some of those divisional road faves. They had a couple tough losses early, but that's normally one of the angles you want to stick to. Give us a quick thought or two just coming out of week 1. Anything that stood out to you?
A couple of things that stood out to me. Lions are in some serious trouble with missing their 2 offensive linemen, Zettler and Frank Ragnow. Offense just didn't have the push, only had 46 yards rushing. Goff didn't look right. Not as much pre-snap motion. Little shocked by the Seattle run game or lack of. We didn't really understand what they were doing there. Steelers missed Steelers missed 17 tackles, and there was 14 teams that didn't miss 1 tackle. So that was a weird stat that kind of stood out to me. But football is good to be back. There's always going to be all these little overreactions and everything.
This is one of the best weeks, right? The overreactions to week 1.
And I think it was a farce that JJ McCarthy was named NFC Player of the Week.
I know, absolutely absurd. It's funny when you're watching games, because that was on Monday night and that was the last thing we saw, how much that entire game flipped on the missed kick. It's like there's little things that give opposing teams momentum. And I'm not saying the game they wouldn't have won or the Bears would have, but everything flipped. And I actually do believe that if they kick that field goal, the Bears go up 14. You don't really give the Vikings any momentum with the shorter field to start, and it's just harder to get it going. We'll get into some of the analysis from those 2 teams, and we'll get into everything right now for week 2. Really good Thursday night game, Eric, to start. We got the Packers hosting the Commanders. Packers are a 3.5-point favorite. They come off of the win against your Lions. They score early, and then they get a little conservative. Pick 6, that was wiped out by a defensive penalty. But then you get a nice big drive from the Packers late, and they get like a nice exclamation point from Micah Parsons late. They looked fine. They looked solid. I will say, I think post Micah Parsons trade, they are probably one of the more hyped teams in the league. So they're probably at their highest peak value or as close to it right now. Coming in, all the buzz. They just beat the Lions, who were a good team last year. And you have Washington. I think they kind of had a sleepy week 1 win. They committed 12 penalties in that game, 7 in the first half. There was a grounding penalty that cost Washington some points. Daniels, who was very good last year against the Blitz, was not this year. It was just 3 of 9 in week 1, lowest single game passer rating against the Blitz of his career so far. Deebo Samuel looked good, though, for the Commanders, and looked like he's healthy, a little motivated, and able to use him in a few different ways. I thought their defense was solid, held the Giants out of the end zone despite a goal-to-go situation. And the Giants had to punt 4 straight times, failing to cross their own 35. I'm probably going to go with Washington here, getting the more than 3. I think this is the type of game where I like to play Daniels, when he's a dog, when he can kind of punch up a little bit. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in this game, and any plays here?
Well, if you go to drf.com and open up a Hard Rock bet account, they have 3 for the Packers.
So you're going to go, okay, you like that side if you're a Packers player.
what I did. I bet the Packers.
And that's what's a very important point you just made, right? You can look at these different books and find different numbers and then play based on what you want, right? If you like Washington, you're looking for the 3.5. If you don't want to play Washington, you can find a 3 out there.
Yep. It's all about finding the value, finding the best number. When we look at this, Giants had 11 plays inside the 10, 4 inside the 3 versus Washington, and didn't score at all. That kind of, to me, that's it. They're not scoring in the green zone. If that score was closer, I think this would be looked upon a little bit differently. You mentioned all of Washington's penalties. Jayden Daniels struggling when facing the blitz. When you look at some situations, favorites are hitting at 56% against the number on Thursday Night Football. LaFleur is a home favorite, 63. Packers under LaFleur, 23-9 in primetime games, 16-3 ATS in the first 3 games of the season. Matt is very detail oriented. That's why they're able to get off to these great starts, because he has plans going into the season where everything kind of goes awry. We look at the Packers. They held the Lions to 246 yards. Lions just ran for 46 yards. That is their lowest total in 3 years. Commanders are a top 5 heavy run team based on last year. If they're able to contain the run, what is that going to look for this offense, and also for Jayden Daniels, who I know he did have 11 rushing yards and 11 rushing attempts, and everyone's going to be talking about that. However, that was because of the blitz. Those weren't quote unquote design runs. Those were more him scrambling to stay alive. Washington has some O-line issues. I think Parsons and crew is going to be able to make his life a little bit uncomfortable. Packers O-line protected Jordan Love well. Not a real flashy game, but he did everything he needed to do. No turnovers. Their tight end Tucker Kraft was involved. Did a good job spreading the ball around. I think they're going to be able to pick apart this Washington defense. Now, when you look at it, the stat that I'm always going to refer to start the season is the 20 for 23 on the 4th down last year for Washington.
Yeah, they're going to regress off that. You just know
they do for some regression. I think the Packers have the advantage in the trenches. I think they have a coaching advantage is in LaFleur. I think the Giants just converted one of those red zone plays that game would have turned. I mean, it was just Wilson constantly didn't have enough time. Neighbors was complaining on the sideline, got in a fight with DeBoll. I think the Packers are going to be able to move the ball. Important for DFS to note that both these teams struggled against the tight end. I think Zach Ertz would be a good play in your DFS lineups.
Maybe Kraft too, right?
And Kraft too. Yep.
What's a question that we'll ask early in the season too, and I think we'll probably get more information out of it, Eric, after watching the Lions a couple more times. When we look at that Lions-Packers game, do we want to take more from the Packers and say, you know what, they're impressive defensively, they were one of the reasons why they slowed the Lions down? Or are we going to say, you know, without the coordinators, especially Ben Johnson, you were pointing out the changes on the offensive line. Maybe it'll take the Lions a little bit to get going. We'll see in the next few games which one it is. If the Lions come out the next couple of weeks and look a lot better, we'll probably revert to this game and say, you know what, this is a really good defense here from Green Bay. This is a strong Thursday night game, Eric. We generally don't get
very strong Thursday night game.
These good of Thursday night games on.
I think another thing is Brad Holmes, the GM of the Lions, has done such a great job being ahead of the curve, getting these guys signed before their contract corrects up. You look at what these playing St. Brown versus what DK and McLaurin are getting paid. Done a great job. They're completely caught off guard with Frank Reagan now having to retire.
Yeah, that just sort of
and losing the guard Zettler. You're starting 2 guys that shouldn't be starting, 2 guys that were supposed to be depth pieces.
Yep.
You brought in the rookie who's forced to play center. They're just behind it right now because of that. And I think, to me, that was the big issue.
Let's move to second game of the week. We get to Sunday now with the Browns at the Ravens. Baltimore had a 94% post-game win expectancy in their loss on Sunday Night Football to the Bills. They were the first team in NFL history to score 40 points, run for 235 yards, and lose that game. Teams were 277-0, including the playoffs prior to that loss. And for Harbaugh, Eric, 8th time his team has lost a game in which they held a fourth quarter lead of at least 8 points. No other coach since 2000 has as many losses. I ask you, because it's always so easy after to go back and, base all of our analysis off of results. But I would be pretty consistent on this. 4th down, 2.5 yards, 90 seconds left. Bills have no timeouts. You got to pick up 2.5 to 3 yards. Game is over. And you have to ask yourself the question as a coach then, who do you want to win the game for you? Do you trust your defense, who at the time had already given up 38 points, right? I know you're kicking the ball to Josh Allen. He's going to have 90 seconds left to try to go and just get in line to kick a field goal, versus do you give the ball to Lamar and ask him to get you 3 yards? Or, you have Henry run kind of like an option, something like that, where you have the two of them. It's always easier after the fact, but man, I feel like sometimes it's better to live and die with your really strong offensive players that you believe in. And Harbaugh did the opposite. He punted, and we know what happens. The Bills come down and they end up winning the game.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, like, if they would have stopped them, it would have been a moot point.
Right, because the Bills have a new kicker. Prater hadn't even been with the team, right? Like, they just had to sign him recently. There's a lot of different things that you can point to, and it's easy to go back and forth, but it's always a fun question to ask, because that's a huge decision you have to make. That's basically the biggest decisions you have to make as a coach, those ones at the end of the game, right? Kick, go for it when you have the chance to seal and ice the game.
Yeah, because those are always going to be the ones, that
get second guessed.
So,
yep. But Henry was a monster. They get a 40-25 lead, and then Josh Allen comes back. There's always a play or two that flips it. Derrick Henry's fumble ends up flipping the game. Ravens look very impressive, though, overall. It's just something that we monitor with them because they've done this a lot through the years where they have these big leads. They look like they're dominating, and then one or two plays flips everything. The Browns very easily could have won their game, Eric. They had a number of chances to get a victory. They lost 93% in win probability over 3 plays. Second quarter interception, the missed field goal in the fourth, and the fourth quarter interception. Those 3 plays cost them 93% winning and losing the game. They had 4 on-target throws from Flacco that got dropped. 2 of them bounced off of their receivers' hands that became interceptions for the Bengals. So if you go all of the things that had to happen for the Bengals to win, it's like very frustrating as a Browns fan or as someone who backed the Browns and played them money line in any situation like that, because they were good defensively, Eric. They held the Bengals to 7 yards in the second half. 7, not 70, not 107, 7. That's like the Friends thing, Monica. 7. She's doing that. That's what we're talking about here in the second half. This is a big number for a division, right? Yeah. I mean, really big.
Looking at it, historical trend, teams that blow 10 plus leads in week 1 are 19-1 ATS in week 2 for the last 25 years. That kind of tends that the Ravens will bounce back here. But you're right. It's a huge number. I really am not a big fan of laying these big numbers. Is the Browns defensive line going to get the push that it did? The Ravens offensive line is an immense upgrade over what Cincinnati is bringing to the field.
Great point.
Garrett and that crew going to be able to get that push?
And on the road too,
yep,
right?
And on the road, and the Ravens don't want to start off 0-2, but it's an AFC North matchup. These games are historically close
and low scoring usually,
and low scoring. Now, that's one of the things where low total, high point spread. But at the end of the day, I look at this one. I'm trying my best this year not to force plays, not to go crazy.
I'm staying away from
this one. I'm going to stay away.
Me too.
Do you trust Joe Flacco at this age going in there and doing that? And the kicker, if the Browns had a kicker, they win that game.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge red flag for me. I can't I just can't force a play. I just can't get involved in anything.
Yeah. Me too. I'm staying away here. I definitely wouldn't be laying it with Baltimore, but this is going to be everybody's survivor play, right? This week.
I'll tell you what, I have a different survivor play.
Yeah, because this is going to be a lot of people's survivor play because most people are looking at the biggest spreads and playing them. And but this is a little sneaky one because we said you got division rivals. You got a Browns team that's defense can step up at times, but big number here for the Ravens. Rammies on the road, 5.5-point favorite over the Tennessee Titans. The Rams and Stafford just kind of did enough to get the job done. Both the Rams and Texans probably have pretty good defenses, Eric. So that game wasn't like a high-flying game between the Rams and Texans. Both of those teams were sort of leaning more on their D in those games. But we saw some impressive and big plays from Devontae Adams, and then Puka Nacua, just incredible as always. What I like to see from the Rams, they put pressure on Stroud, over 41% of his dropbacks. So the defensive front was what they were hoping it to be. On the Titans side, heading into Monday Night Football, and I think it still stood, they were dead last in EPA per play. They played at a tough opponent. I mean, if you're thinking about toughest places for a rookie quarterback to start their career, at Denver is probably up there just from a place to play, how good that defense could be. The defense is the strength, it seems like, for the Titans as well. They got 3 extra possessions via takeaways. They just couldn't really get there offensively. Cam Ward was making his first start. I was impressed with what they were able to do to Denver's offense and make life a little difficult for them. Do you play the home dog here as what Tennessee pushed? I think it ended at 8 last week. You and I may have got it.
Depended where you got in.
Right, because there was 8.5 earlier in the week. So at the very least, they either pushed or win ATS their first week of the year. And we were expecting Tennessee to kind of bounce back a little bit off of that historically bad ATS number last year.
Of course. I kind of liked what I saw from the Titans.
Me too.
They're driving to take the lead in the second quarter before fumbling inside Denver's 38. We're up 6-3. Really don't understand what Callahan was doing. Like, just run the ball. Like, why are you trying deep in your zone?
I know.
Try to, like, get a first down. Just take the lead into halftime. But they tried to move the ball, punted. Denver ended up scoring a late touchdown. Calvin Ridley had a couple big drops. Maybe could have changed the game. Maybe could have made it a little closer. Look at the Titans defense, 7th overall, 8th in pass DVOA. But the key thing was they're 25th in run DVOA. So the key question is, are they going to be able to stop Kyren Williams in this running attack? The Rams lost both starting guards. They suffered ankle injuries, and they're currently day-to-day. Neither one of them practiced today, which those guys not being there is obviously going to help Tennessee's run defense. Tennessee's offense, 2 of 15 on 3rd and 4th downs. Obviously, they're due for some positive regression. I feel that with the cover guys that Denver brings, this is going to be a downgrade for Ward, if that makes
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think they played Denver tough. They led 12-10 midway through the third, ultimately lost 20-13. The defense held Denver to only 133 yards, 7 first downs. They showed a lot in the trenches to me. And Ward stepped up. He made some throws. He played a little bit more under control. I don't think Ridley's going to have those drops. I like Tennessee here. I was able to find Tennessee +6 on BetMGM. So, yeah, I'm going to tighten up, and hopefully they can get it done. I mean, and also the Rams did it like, I know your defense played great. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. But the main thing with that kind of stood out to me was the Rams were doubling, bracket coveraging Nico Collins. And it was how uncomfortable Stroud looked not leaning on Collins. And I really feel that injury to Christian Kirk, that he's going to miss the first 2 or 3 weeks, that is something that we didn't really take into account enough, if that makes sense. Because Nick Chubb is not the guy back there. Didn't really do anything running. Dameon Pierce has never taken the ball and quote unquote run with it and been that bell cow back they meant for him to be when they drafted him out of Florida. Texans really missed Kirk. I think that the Titans with Ward, with Pollard and Ridley, I think they're going to be able to have a little more success moving the ball.
I'd be on the Titans at anything over 3.5. Honestly, that would be like the buy-in point. You got plenty of room there too. Look for your best number. Eric found 6s out there. It's 5.5 as we look here at FanDuel. It just seems like a good spot for them to keep it close. Both of these teams want to run the ball, want to lean on their defenses. The Rams can make play. I think people still kind of think of the Rams as a high-flying offense because of McVay and stuff, but they want to lean on their defense. They want to run the ball, and now they have playmakers that can go out and make big plays for them, Puka and Adams. That's their template. They're not going to be trying to light it up and have Stafford throw the ball 40 times. That doesn't make sense for them. They want this guy to be healthy, and they want to kind of nurse him along throughout the year. I think this could be a low-scoring game, too. It's over-under is only 41.5, so we're on the Titans as the home dog here. Eric, we move to Bears-Lions divisional game in the NFC North. And that is a division that the Bears have not been good in since 2020. The Bears are 2-14 straight up at home versus the NFC North. That's Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Trubisky, Foles, and Peterman starting games during that stretch for them. Caleb Williams completed his first 10 passes. New head coach Ben Johnson had a really nice script for him to get things started. And I mean, they were really dominating the game. The defense looked really good. They made life very difficult for McCarthy. They were putting a ton of pressure on him. And there was that one moment when things just really flipped. We saw the offensive line for the Bears start to struggle. Caleb Williams ends up getting pressured 15 times. So that's about 35%. And as the night continued on, we really noticed that Chicago couldn't run the ball other than Caleb scrambles and like broken plays where he picks up, he's taking it himself. They have to figure out how to run the ball better. They have to be able to lean on their offensive linemen. They had 3 new interior linemen, and each of them gave up at least 4 pressures. So that wasn't good. And the Lions, you and I have talked about it, they didn't look great either. They have offensive line issues. They do have a very good offensive line coach that you've mentioned before. And so that's someone who can likely figure things out as the year goes on. But it's not an easy way to start the season when you have a couple different pieces of an offensive line that you leaned on over the last couple of years while both of your coordinators are not there. So, and I think another thing that really hurt the Lions too, Eric, you get down so quickly, you couldn't really run the ball in the game because you're down like double digits early. So it made you a little bit more one-dimensional. And if you can just get out to a better start here and the run and the play action is still something you can do, because all of a sudden you eliminate what Jared Goff is best at when you guys can't run the ball anymore. So I think just staying close and being in a more even game script is going to help the Lions a lot more.
This game falls into the trends. Teams that blew a 10-point lead in week 1, 29-19-1 ATS. Goff and Campbell, 19 and 18 ATS after a straight up loss. They have won and covered 10 straight off a loss dating back to November of 2022. I mentioned it earlier. 46 rushing yards, third worst in 3 seasons. 4 sacks. They average just 1.8. Williams looked a lot like last year. Dropping back too far, running too much. My takeaway really is this is going to have to be his rookie year. We're going to have to throw out last year. This is going to be his rookie year.
With a new coach, actually an adult in the room, and like the pieces around him, he's in a much better spot than he was last year. But that offensive line has to be better, and they have Ben's got to figure out some ways to take a little bit of pressure off of him with the run.
Yeah. Campbell should have the easiest pregame speech in the world. This guy deserted here. This guy, and it would, that right there, Lions first half. Okay. Interesting. But Another thing that stood out to me is the pre-scripted stuff. Bears look better at the beginning of the game with you know what I mean? Like when Johnson can map stuff out. Johnson made some coaching mistakes. Like, how do you kick that in the end zone to allow the 2-minute warning to happen?
I know. You just blast it out of the end zone or kick it out of bounds.
He made some simple coaching mistakes. This is a must-win game for the Lions because Jesus, they're minus 120 to not make the playoffs right now. They're favorite on FanDuel not to make the playoffs.
You can pray on the show, Eric. It's okay. I know you get a little holy from time to time, but this is one of the games that's I think is a stay away for me because I agree with you. Like this to me smells like a game where the Lions bounce back quite a bit, but I did like what I saw from Chicago early in that game. Keep in mind, Chicago is going to be on short rest this week too, coming off that Monday Night Football game. I'm kind of hemming and hawing. Did you end up doing anything here?
I did nothing, man. I'm going to completely stay away from this game.
Me too. This game I'm staying away from. Moving along, Bills at the Jets. Bills are a 6.5-point favorite on the road. You have two teams that, I mean, very, very easily could be 1-0 and 0-1, right? The Bills, they win their game. They're down 40-25. They come back late. They need a few things to go their way. I thought the Jets looked really good for a lot of that game, Eric. They had an 83% post-game win expectancy. They had Fields had a 63% success rate per play, the highest rate in a start for his career. He ran the ball really well. He led 6 scoring drives. He went 16 for 22, 12 rushes for 48 yards, and he just seemed in control. He had a good connection with Wilson. The whole offense just looked really good. And that was an old Bears guy or an old Lions guy, right? Tanner Engstrand that came from over there?
Followed Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
Over there. They were really hoping he'd stay to be the OC, but he has a connection with Glenn.
He made Breece Hall look probably as good as he'd looked so far in the NFL. And
Hall's finally healthy. I mean, like last year, he's coming over from that ACL injury. And I mean, I'll give him credit. He's really smart. Like, and it's what McVay did last year when he was just like, okay, we're going to just give the ball to Nacua, Kupp, and Williams.
Yep.
Those 3. And that's what he did. Hall or Fields running, and we're going to use Wilson. We're going to have our best 3 players touch it. I was able to find in a different book a 7 on the Jets.
Yep.
So I got 7 on the Jets.
I did too.
On my show on Tuesday, teams getting 7 or more in weeks 1 through 3, 56% against the number last 20 years. When it's a home divisional dog, 7-3 last 20 years in the first couple of weeks. Bills, they have some serious red flags defensively. 32nd defensive DVOA, pass defense 32nd, rush defense 31st. They allowed 8.6 yards per game to the Ravens. Jets had 6.4. They were taking the secondary, terrible angles from the Bills trying to tackle Derrick Henry. They made Derrick Henry, who's great, but he's not fast. They made him look fast. Now, when we look at their secondary, Tyler Rapp, 29.1 PFF grade, 76 out of 76 safeties. Bishop, 54.8, 52nd out of 76. Strong, 45.3 PFF grade, 80th over 96. And Rapp and Strong play on the same side. Benford, 61.1, 53 out of 93. This is a very weak secondary. Fields and Wilson should be able to exploit it. And I absolutely loved what I saw from Tanner Estrage. They ran the ball 39 times. That is the second most in week 1. A run-heavy approach, controls the clock, limits the possessions. Josh Allen possessions. Now, I'm having flashbacks. Remember a couple years ago, the year before the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl and lost, what they started to do? They started to run the ball 30 times a game. Now, I'm not comparing those two, but the writing's on the wall. If you run the ball that much, you're going to control the clock. You're going to have your defense going to be rested. You're going to keep Josh Allen on the bench. Allen on the road laying over 3.5, 48%. When it's a divisional road game, 44%. Home dogs, 7 points or more, 18-1-2 ATS in the first 9 games of the regular season since 2022. Since 2020, 37-10 ATS. Bills are coming off an emotional comeback win. Sunday Night Football, letdown spot. Trends, the situation. Bills defense is really overrated. Bad tackling, weak secondary. With the Jets, run heavy, simple game plan, Fields mobility, I think they can hang inside the number. And look, you're going to be able to get a better number on the Jets over 6.
Yeah.
I think the Jets look good. I mean, for a team that lost, the Jets look good. And when you kind of take a step back, what happened in that game? I think I really feel a lot of people don't talk about this, is they missed a field goal. They made the extra point earlier in the game, but there was a penalty on the Steelers. So they took the extra point off the board, went for 2. I mean, why are you doing that? You know what I mean? It's literally your first drive, and at the end of the game, those points ended up mattering. And they had the fumble by their punt returner, who's been let go today. That basically, that was the difference in the game. And Boswell, who's the best kicker, made it probably in the
60-yard field goal. You needed a 60-yard field goal to lose. And in that,
we're right there. So
they had more first downs in that game. They had more total yards in that game. It's you go through the box score, they dominated. They were better on third down. They were 7 of 14 overall on third down. They ran more total plays, total yards per play, time of possession, almost 10 minutes more, and a couple plays just flipped it. And Aaron Rodgers was up there crowing afterwards, which is funny. It's if your guy doesn't hit a 60-yard field goal, you're probably not up there F-bombing everybody and talking about how you hate the Jets and everything. But I agree with you. We're both on the Jets side here. Look for the best number that you can find. There are some 7s out there. Try to get that, if possible, on the Jets as your home dog, divisional home dog here, plus 6.5, 7. Look for that best number. Eric, we move to the Giants at the Cowboys. The Cowboys come off of the opening game loss. Weird game where we had the weather delay in there. The game that started with the spit at the beginning, which is just something you don't see all that often. It's just a strange game. There were a couple big drops from Lamb in that game that ended up hurting the Cowboys. They ran the ball better, which was nice to see. The Giants are a team that you pointed out. They had a lot of opportunities to score when they were at goal-to-go situations and didn't. That game against the Commanders probably was a little bit closer than it looks like if you just look at the box score. Washington hadn't really put them away until late in that game. They were also without Andrew Thomas up front, and feel like this is a spot where I know Dallas played a little better than people were expecting in week 1, but I'm not sure they should be favored by 5.5 here. This number to me feels like it should be a little above a field goal, closer to something like 3.5 or so. Eric, what are you looking at? Are you going to play the Giants here with Dallas at home? Is the stay away for you? What do you think about Giants at the Cowboys? We're looking at about 5.5 right now.
I'm doing nothing here. When we kind of look at it, Dak 30-12 ATS versus NFC East as a favorite, 58%. As a 4-point favorite or more, 64%. DeBull is already talking about benching Russell Wilson. The story is there was a meeting that happened, decided not to do it. This offensive line is arguably the worst in the league, and it's going to take years to repair. They cannot protect it all. I really don't understand what they're doing in the draft. Why not trade down the pick they took? Dart was still going to be on the board. Trade down, get some more offensive line. Cowboys defense looked bad last week, and that was against the Eagles' elite offensive line. And the one thing Eberflus didn't do is he didn't spy Hurts, and we'll talk about that a little bit later and how that disrupted the Eagles' game plan. But when we kind of look at the game, to me, Dak thrives as a front runner. Anytime he's a front runner, big favorite. He always covers these numbers. I hate laying numbers in divisional games. If I was forced to bet it, I would probably bet the Cowboys. But Dallas, to me, because I really don't trust Dallas with their defense, Dallas, to me, makes a lot of sense in Survivor.
Cowboys 5.5-point favorite over the Giants. I'll stay away from this one too. Not sure what to take out of week 1 from that Giants performance yet. I want to see a little more from them. Eric, we move to the 49ers at the Saints. Now, this as a number of 49ers -3. This is telling me this is a no Brock Purdy number, right?
Yeah, Shefty came out saying that it doesn't look like he is going to go.
And so the 49ers right now are dealing with a Brock Purdy injury. George Kittle left in the second quarter. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Ricky Pearsall came up like hobbling a little bit at one point. Juwan Jennings exits the game in the second half with a shoulder injury. Looks like he's going to be okay. Jennings has a chance to play. Kittle placed on IR. He's going to miss a few weeks. Purdy is the question mark. Mac Jones is the backup. So it could be Mac Jones at New Orleans. Saints probably look better than most people were expecting. They do still have some talented veterans at the top of the depth charts, Eric. Kamara, Cameron Jordan, Carl Granderson, DeMario Davis. Those guys can still make plays. We just don't know what to expect from their quarterback position and their depth. I think what we saw last year, once they get some injuries at some of these spots, I don't know if they're deep enough to fill because they had some mismanagement with the cap for a few years here and there. But the defense was, pretty strong. And they actually gave Rattler a chance at a game-winning drive in the final quarter. I feel like if you wanted to play New Orleans, you already missed some value in this because now it's moving the New Orleans way with Purdy. Would you possibly be on the San Francisco side with Mac Jones here?
Yeah, Niners dealing with a ton of issues. Do you trust Spencer Rattler? If my life was on the line and I had to bank on one quarterback to win a game, I would take Mac Jones over Spencer Rattler.
I would too. Yeah.
Defense had some issues, could have been exploited. If Cardinals left a lot of points on the board.
They did.
Game outlook, we don't know who's playing for San Francisco.
This is just such a stay away for me right now.
The Saints aren't the Saints anymore. Like that home field, even last year, used to be something. Now they're having trouble selling out games. It's gonna take a little while to rebound with what the Saints were, and it's gonna be interesting. Like with a system that Moore likes to run, and they got Kamara, who Moore doesn't like to use running backs out of the backfield. Kamara is a big pass catcher. I don't know. It's just a lot of weird things going on for me with the Saints. I'm gonna stay away.
Yeah. Well, as the week goes on, if you are inclined to play this game, or if you're someone who, like, I'm in a pool, Eric, where we have to pick every game every week by the spread, right? It's one of those types of things where you have to make a pick. Wait as long as you can and find out who's playing, what the 49ers are going to look like and everything there before you make your decision, because it's just hard when we record this on Wednesday night sometimes, and this team could be missing some real key players, in particular quarterback, and I think their best pass catcher in Kittle, who's going to be out for a few weeks at least. So that is 49ers Saints. We move to Patriots at the Dolphins. Got to be honest, Eric, if you're just taking two teams that probably felt about as disappointed as anyone coming out of week 1, it might be these two teams, because Miami looked awful. And the whole buzz in the preseason was that Miami is going to look awful, and they were terrible. But for New England, they were a team that was catching a lot of buzz, right? They were catching a lot of gamblers and sharp gamblers that were playing their win total over, and that were playing them as a team to possibly make the playoffs. And I think a lot of it had to do with their schedule. When you looked at the Patriots' schedule, they were going to be favored in a lot of their games, or a lot of games like this, where it's within a point or two, very winnable games for them. Man, if they started 0-2, that would just really feel like a gut punch. And for the Dolphins, they're not far away from Coach Mike McDaniel getting fired, because it just hasn't seemed like they've been able to keep things together a whole lot over the last year and a half. I'll give the Dolphins a little bit of leeway. They've had some injuries. They've had some things happen. But Eric, every team is going to have issues. You're going to have some negatives, some injuries. How can you weather that storm? And as a head coach, can you make sure your team is consistent, is going to go out there and give you the best that they can? Like this Miami team has gotten beat up badly sometimes. Do you play them here, though? Because I'm curious, do you have any numbers about teams like Miami that got crushed in week 1 and how they are in week 2?
I do. And gambling
I figured you would.
All about buying low and selling high. There's no team stock that is lower than Miami right now.
Yep.
Coming up with a 25-point loss to the Colts. Teams coming off a 25-point loss cover at 54% of the time, 3.6% ROI historically. Now, the big thing for me is let's look at Tua at home, 64%, home favorite, 57%, home favorite at 1 p.m., 65%, straight up at home. And I just played the money line. He's 25-8 straight up in the 1 p.m. window, 20-5. Why is the 1 p.m. window key? Humidity. Heat.
Good point.
It's going to be mid-80s. There's going to be high humidity. How that Hard Rock Cafe Stadium is set up is the sun just beats on the team of the visitors, and that's going to add up. You got a team from the north coming down. Historically speaking, Patriots struggle in the spot. And then we just kind of look, there's certain teams Tua does really well against. He does really well against the Patriots. And I know it's a completely different system, but when you look at all his numbers, 233 passing yards per game, TD to INT ratio of 1.8 to 0.04. His last 2 games against the Patriots, this was against 2 defensive coordinators because he only played 1 time against them last year because of concussion. 300 yards, both games. Dolphins have won 8 of the last 9 versus the Patriots. When you look at the Patriots, I know a lot of stuff was made of their defense, 27th in DVOA, 28th pass DVOA. Safeties struggled in coverage and tackling. Also, what's going on with Christian Gonzalez? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? If he doesn't play, that's going to booster up Miami's passing attack. Offensively for the Patriots, it was supposed to be this power zone option attack. They showed none of it in week 1. Against the Raiders, only 60 yards rushing. Drake May struggled in the red zone. Their offense just still looked like a work in progress. Vrabel, I love Vrabel, but he didn't look Vrabel on the sidelines, if that makes sense.
I agree.
He just looked a little rusty. It's going to take him a little time to get back in. Buy low on Miami after the blowout. Tua owns the Patriots at home. The matchup, the weather, New England's offense and defense looking a little shaky. I'm going to take the buy low spot. Give me the Dolphins.
And this is something that I like to do, Eric, especially in small sample sizes. So the Dolphins got crushed. But what's funny, when you look at some of the numbers from the week, they were offensively 29th in EPA per play, 22nd in success rate, 30th in drop back EPA, 28th in drop back success rate. You know what they were in EPA per rush, Eric? What would you guess?
Jesus. I don't know off the top of my head.
Number 1. They were number 1 on the week. In rushing success rate, they were number 2. So here's how the game played out for them. The Colts get the ball, score on their first drive. They're up 3-0. So Miami has the ball. Their first offensive play of the game. HN runs for 9 yards. 3 plays later, Tua interception, Colts touchdown. All of a sudden, they're down 10-0. Right? So they've only had 1 series. They're down 10-0. Now, the next time they got the ball back, first play, A-Chain, 6-yard run. That's a good run. Next play, sack, fumble, recovered by Indy. They score a touchdown. Dolphins are down 17-0. They couldn't run the ball anymore at that point because they were already down 17-0. So that put them in a really bad spot. I would love to see them just try to stay consistent with the run, right? Not every game is it going to be interception, sack, fumble, 14 points against them instantly, and then they can't run the ball. They should run the ball much better in this spot. And if they're able to stay consistent to the run and they're not down 17-0 and 20-0 at halftime, you can't run the ball when you're down like that. I'm expecting them to just it's going to be a different setting for them this week. So look at them to lean on the run. Eric and I are both on the Dolphins bouncing back after that bad week last week. Look for the best Dolphins number that you can find. This one is -1.5. See if you can find anything that's even better on the Dolphins side if you're playing that one. Eric, we had the We have the Jacksonville Jags on the road playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, we talked about them. They had 141 total net yards of offense. That's the second lowest output in a win in franchise history. 7 yards in the second half. That's the lowest second half yardage for a team in a win in the last 25 years. They got very lucky in that game to have drops from Cleveland, to have missed kicks from Cleveland that helped Cincinnati win. Now, I didn't come out of that game all that impressed. The UFL kicker for the Browns missed 2 kicks, and we talked about some of those interceptions that bounced off of the Browns receivers into the Bengals' hands. The Browns were also 11 of 19 on third and fourth down. And they scored 2 touchdowns in their 3 trips to the red zone. They held the ball for 37 minutes, the Browns did in that game. So I was not really impressed with this defense post Lou Anarumo from the Bengals. And on the flip side, the Jags, they scored on 4 of their first 5 possessions to just run away from Carolina. Trevor Lawrence still didn't look great. He's kind of figuring things out, Eric. I was hoping for him to look better. He was a little bit off here and there. I think he was graded 23 by Pro Football Focus on the week with a couple turnover-worthy plays, but their running game was fantastic. Etienne, 16 carries for 143 yards, a 71-yard run. They were able to lean on that, and I really liked what their offensive line was able to do. They had 39 the offensive line was very good. Travis Hunter played more offensive than defense. I don't really thought the way they used him was creative. It's going to take a little while for him to kind of maybe build up to be that two-way player if he is ever going to be that guy. And I liked what the Jags secondary looked like. They spent money on corner Jordan Lewis, safety Eric Murray. I thought both of those acquisitions looked really good. And now this week, they're going to have to be good to deal with Chase, to deal with Higgins and Joe Burrow here. Do you back the Bengals at more than a field goal favorite here, coming off a kind of a lackluster week 1 win?
Burrow 7-2 ATS in his next start after facing the Browns, covers about 4.5 points per game.
Look at that.
14-9-1 ATS are facing an AFC North. Are we too high on the Jags after this win over the Panthers?
It's a good question.
That impressive. Rush defense ranked 17th, last 17th. Like, I think Browns should be able to run the ball.
There were also a couple weird plays in that game too, Eric. Like at the end of the half, the Panthers were driving, and then there was a turnover and flipped, and the Jags were able to score. And that game had a really long delay.
Bad weather delay.
Games that have delays, they are weird sometimes. Like, I don't take a whole lot out of them because it's like the games flip. You get like another halftime. You can make all these adjustments. It's just not like your normal game that has a flow to it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. With Hunter not playing defense, Higgins and Chase, are in line for a great games. This secondary is really going to struggle against those two. Line struggled badly versus the Browns. Now, are they going to be able to run the ball against the Jags with Chase Brown? Burrow has a long history of slow starts in these early games. Browns dominated that game statistically. If they had a better kicker, they probably would have won. If this gets down to 3, I'm very enticed to play the Bengals. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a great bounce back spot for them. I really didn't like what I saw from either team, but I think I'm going to see a little bit more sense of urgency for the Bengals in the situation than I will the
Jags, who kind of feel okay. They got their good win week 1. They're kind of okay coming into this spot. I definitely would look to target a couple of the Bengals receivers in DFS because they had such a bad week last week. I mean, Higgins was miserable. People are not going to want to play him off of that week last week. And even some of their like tertiary receivers and other weapons you may want to look to. I'll probably be on the Jag side at the 3.5, but I agree with you. If it got to 3, that's where you start, where I'm really like thinking about maybe going Bengals side. Jags, Bengals this week. Big game in the AFC. I mean, these are two teams that hope they could be like an AFC wild card, right? Like they're looking at maybe they're finishing second in their divisions. Maybe they can sneak in if things were to go well for them. Jags, Bengals Let's go Seahawks at the Steelers, Eric. We have a Seahawks team that couldn't hold on to the ball a whole lot. It was frustrating if you backed the Seahawks week 1 because that's the type of game that played into your favor. You were on the right side because the balls were bouncing against the 49ers. 49ers were missing kicks. Seattle had opportunities there, didn't get the job done. In the box score, they got beat up, but that's what you want when you play a dog at home like that. That was the spot for Seattle. I will say, I feel like there's a bit too much Pittsburgh coming, like, you know, and Aaron Rodgers fluff coming out of that game. He was solid. He was fine. He was better than last year. He's ranked 24th in Pro Football Focus this week based on passing grade. Like, he was not incredible. A lot of his throws were to wide open receivers. QBR, he was ranked 12th. I think he's probably in between those two. I would say he was about like somewhere in like the 12 to 15-ish kind of range, but he still got sacked 4 times, and there was a pick 6. It should have been pick 6. And Brandon Stevens falls down as he tries to catch the football. Steelers didn't really run the ball all that much, and they had some negative plays on offense. And defensively, they struggled. They could not stop the Jets at all. I'm a little negative. I want to fade Pittsburgh coming out of that week 1 game, but I'm not necessarily sure this is the team or the spot to do it. Talk to me how you feel about this spot, Eric.
Tomlin is a favorite, 48% against the number since 2003. Road underdogs between 2 and 3 in weeks 2 through 7, 73.6% ATS. Between the first 4 weeks of the season, teams that are getting on the road 3.5 or less, 19, 4 and 1. There's a zigzag theory someone turned me on to when there is a team that lost facing a team that won, and the team that covered versus a team that didn't cover, and the team that covered is the favorite. They historically do not cover, 46%. McDaniel, the coach of the Seahawks, very familiar with the Steelers. And when you look at Rodgers, 4 TD passes, just the second time in his career. Play action, 8 for 10, 101 yards, 9 for 9 on screens. There was nothing downfield. Everything was kind of dink and dunk.
And everything was after the catch. His receivers averaged 7.8 yards after the catch per completion, which was the second most of any quarterback in the league in week 1. So he was getting some help with the after the catch stuff.
And Jets fumbled punt, missed 2-point try, missed field goal,
missed the pick 6 that they dropped, right?
Just left a lot. And they're driving, and Ramsey made a great play on Wilson.
Yeah. And then a 60-yard field goal needed to beat them.
Steelers allowed 6.4 yards per play, 400 total yards, gave up 100-plus rushing yards. What is Seattle's zone running scheme going to look against it? And it was kind of weird. Like, I have no idea what Kubiak was doing. You brought zone, a lot of cutbacks, a lot of cuts to the outside. They weren't doing that at all with Kenneth Walker. I don't know if it was because of his injury, or he wasn't used that much in the preseason. I expect him to be used a lot more, and he wasn't, and that really shocked me because Zach Charbonnet is just a power runner. He's just going to run right up the middle, power gap runner. Walker is the zone runner, and they just didn't use him. That really stood out to me. Defense intercepted Purdy twice, held San Francisco to 13 points, and that one guy, the DB, he not really gave up, but completely misjudged the ball that was thrown deep to the sidelines on Pearsall and mistimed his jump going up.
Oh my! On the touchdown, I know he just jumped early, and you could see his body language after. He was like, "Oh man, I messed that up." Like, you could just see it.
Yeah. I think the Seahawks secondary is going to be able to limit this passing attack. I think they're going to be able to get to Rodgers. The defense, Seattle's defense is legit. They have one of the better defenses in.
They're very good, and they're schemed well. Like, they're coached up well. I like their overall defense, and it was the template of a game where they make a big play. I think they had the ball on like the 15-yard line with a chance to win the game, and then one of their offensive linemen backed into Darnold and he turns. It was kind of weird. I mean, but they were in the spot to go in and try to win that game and steal it like you had expected. They could be, and that's how they're going to win games this year. They're not going to score a bunch. Their defense is going to be good. They're going to get a couple turnovers here and there. And then Darnold is still talented enough to make some plays, right? He's just not been a guy who's consistently been at a top tier level, but he's still got the ability to hit guys in the right moments. And you and I, we're going to be seeing ghosts again this week with the Seahawks plus the 3 at Pittsburgh. Denver at the Colts. Denver is a 2.5-point favorite, Eric, on the road at Indianapolis. Denver didn't look very good in week 1 offensively. Bo Nix, not great. I think they were 26th in EPA per play. Bo threw an interception on a 50-50 ball that was going to Cortland Sutton. He just looked a little like, I think he was puffing his chest out a little bit. Like he thought, because he had such a good year last year, he can make some plays and throws that he can't quite make. He was only 2 of 7 under pressure attempts, and both interceptions came when under pressure. They were able to run the ball better in the fourth quarter. Dobbins made a big play. Rookie RJ Harvey, they started getting him involved a little bit too. They leaned on their defense. The Broncos, they were playing against a rookie quarterback making his first career start, so they were able to make life difficult for him. The Colts played really well. They beat up Miami. All 7 of the Colts' possessions ended in a field goal or a touchdown. No turnovers, no punts, no kneel downs. That's the first team since 1991 to score on every possession in a game. And they did it with Daniel Jones making his debut. Have you heard what they're calling Daniel Jones now? It's not Danny Dimes anymore.
I'm dying to know what they're calling him.
Indiana Jones. I like that one. I was like, okay. I like that. So this one's interesting, Eric, because the Colts have, if you look at their overall team, there's a lot of positives with this team. Like they're always able to run the ball pretty well and lean on an offensive line. It looks like their defensive line, they put some money into, and they were very, very impressive. They bring in defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. It seemed like he had a really good game plan. So, I could see this team just being feistier. And while we all kind of want to laugh at Daniel Jones for, some of his struggles with the Giants, this is by far the best situation he's ever been in as a quarterback, with some actual playmakers around him, a really good back, a good offensive line, some solid coaching. Remember, he did lead a team to the playoffs and a playoff victory, so he can win games in the NFL and at least be a little more consistent than what they were getting from Anthony Richardson. What do you do in this game with the Colts as a small home dog here facing the Broncos?
I'm just going to wait. I think we're going to be able to get a 3.
The 3 with the Colts, and that's when you buy in?
Yep. I've been saying it. Bo Nix isn't it.
No.
And now with what's on tape, I really expect them to struggle. Offense, only 317. Nix just 176. Jones brings that RPO action, pushes the ball downfield. Joseph's defense historically struggled with RPO. That's a matchup end. We need to remember Taylor had a great game against Denver last year. That was the game where he scored that touchdown, but he fumbled before. So that kind of, I don't want to say flipped the game, but it did. Game outlook, I just think that the Colts defense is underrated. I don't think the Broncos offense is anywhere near what people think it was going to be.
Agree.
Broncos struggled winning against good teams. Not having Gus Bradley there is a huge defensive upgrade for the Colts. They're showing more disguises. And Sean Payton, he is just not Sean Payton anymore. So I don't know. If I get the 3, I'm going to be all about it. So
yep, I'm the same way. I'll be sprinkling some money line as well. Just thinking the Colts are a very good team to match up with Denver too, because Denver, if you can run the ball against Denver, you're going to negate what some of their strength is, like their secondary and the guys that want to come and make negative plays. If you can just hand the ball off to Taylor, Jones picks up some runs and then make plays here or two and keep Denver off balance, I think there's a really good template for the Colts here to win this game and to be very competitive. I'll be leaning Colts, and we're waiting for the best number there. Arizona, 6.5-point favorite against the Panthers. Cardinals and Kyler Murray scored points on 4 of their first 5 drives against New Orleans. He looked okay. He was a little better connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. Down the stretch, their offense only scored 3 points. And they kind of got a little flat. I think they were kind of sleepwalking through the game once they got up a little bit early, but nonetheless, they didn't really look impressive. It's not what you want to see in week 1. I did like their cornerback, Will Johnson. He looked very, very good for the Cardinals. Now on the Panthers side, it was really disappointing to see such a poor performance from Bryce Young and from their offense, because last year, Eric, down the stretch, offensively, they were moving the ball pretty well. And that's like, even in games when Bryce Young and the Panthers weren't winning, Bryce Young was grading out very well. If you were looking at like a lot of the comparisons for QBs, he was in the top 10 in a lot of stats, top 5 even. But now, Eric, they're 0-8 when he is the starting quarterback, and the team has a -2 or worse turnover differential. He's not going to pick them up and bring them out of the hole ever. So very disappointing. But as I said, as we talked about earlier, that Panthers game was a weird game with the delay. There was a drive at the end of the first half that they would have kept themselves in the game, and they had a turnover, and then everything really flipped. What do you do here with the Cardinals just under a 7-point favorite?
Oh, God. Who do you trust more, Cardinals laying 7 or the Panthers getting 7? I mean, that's your question. Honestly, I don't trust either one of them.
I'm staying away from this game. Me too. Yeah, I like
Cards nearly upset last week, dropped by Jennings. Didn't look really focused. Murray missed a wide open Harrison touchdown that would have been for 99 yards. I love Arizona this season, but laying this big number, I don't like it. This trend really stood out to me. Murray, 42% ATS is a favorite, but when he's laying a number over 6, it's happened 10 times only, so not that big of a sample size. 7-3 against the number.
So beats up on the teams that they're supposed to beat up on.
Panthers issues. Bryce Young still looks small. I mean,
yeah, he does.
Something funny, like look at a picture of Bryce Young versus Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. Just insane. Cardinals defense improved. They got a lockdown corner in Will Johnson. I know a lot of people are concerned about the knee. It looks like that's healthy. I think he's going to be take away McMillan. Cardinals are going to be a very popular pick in Survivor.
Yep.
That would be the only way I'd play them. To me, Survivor is Cowboys or Arizona here.
Yeah, this is a game that I'm staying away from one way or the other on the line. We have the Eagles as a 1.5-point favorite at Kansas City. Both of these two teams get a little bit of a mini bye. Philly opened the season on Thursday night, Kansas City on Friday night. Eagles beat the Cowboys, and then the Chiefs end up losing to the Chargers. Bizarre opening night for Philly with the spit and everything that happened there. Both teams were moving the ball early, and then after the delay, it was punt, 3 and out. We saw almost nothing from A.J. Brown. Hurts looked solid, though, and they were running the ball as you could expect. But I was a little less impressed with their defense because the Cowboys were able to actually move the ball pretty well. First 5 drives, 4 scores, and a Miles Sanders fumble in the red zone for the Eagles. So, yeah, I guess coming out of that game and now looking at what the right move to play in this situation is, like a lot of people were already everybody wants to put the Kansas City is done narrative out there, right? Because anytime they lose, we're not used to them losing that. You just want to already say they're done. That was a tough way for them to start the season when you know that Rashee Rice is already going to be out for 6 games. And then right off the bat, Worthy and Kelsey bump into each other, and your 2 best pass catchers are out of the game. And you knew you were already going to be up against it without Rice for the first 6 weeks or so. It's a little easier, Eric, now having a week plus to figure some things out, to put some other guys in spots, to get Juju Smith-Schuster some more looks. That's what they did in the second half. They were able to get offensively a little bit better, and Mahomes was using his legs. Do you have numbers about when Mahomes is a dog?
Yeah, I mean, looking at right here, 68 career home starts, only closed as an underdog. 2022 versus the Bills, plus 2.5. They lost 24-20. Only closed 1.5 or shorter at home 3 times, all versus the Bills. As a dog, it's only happened 11 times. He's 8-2-1 against the number. Reed as a dog, 57%. I'm down on the Chiefs this year. My big thing was like they are not going to make the playoffs. Their defense looked bad. Jones looked old, taking bad angles. There's a little fighting, not fighting, but a little chirping, I'll say, going on the sidelines. Mahomes looked better. I mean, with their defense being down, Mahomes is going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more. When we look at last year's Eagles, they mentioned how it took them forever to get back in the groove after the Brazil trip. Is that going to happen with the Chiefs this year? Super Bowl rematch 11 times. The Super Bowl winner, 7-3 straight up. This is going to be the 11th one the following year. You mentioned the Eagles defense. When you lose Jalen Carter, it's like you're losing someone on the field.
Yeah, like right off the bat, right?
Stuff is just completely off. And I really feel the thing that threw their offense for a loop, the Cowboys weren't spying Jalen Hurts. That's why he had all those just runs where he just go back, roll, and go. And that's why I feel A.J. Brown wasn't targeted as all, because everyone was just kind of like, they're really not spying him. Like, what are they doing here? We're just going to do that. So I don't know, man. Like, this is a game I'm definitely not going to bet this game. Like, there's too many variables. Are the Chiefs desperate, looking not to go 2-0? Was it going to look like from the Eagles? I think A.J. Brown is going to have a good game. You know, I think this is kind of going to be that bounce back.
Squeaky wheel game kind of, right? Like, you know, after that week where you have nothing, then but you said it wasn't, they win the game. He has a big catch late, but it's scheme wise, they were sort of just taking what the Cowboys were giving them.
Yeah. And like when a team does something like that, you're kind of like, what is going on? It kind of skews what you want it to do, as crazy as it sounds.
We move to the Vikings hosting the Falcons, and just right after the Monday Night Football game, Eric, this was one of the games that I was looking to target this week because everybody's watching Monday Night Football, and at the end of the game, they see a couple drives from McCarthy, and now all of a sudden, as you mentioned, McCarthy gets the player of the week. McCarthy is now savior. McCarthy is the guy. He played very poorly for a lot of the game. They needed a few things to bounce their way and a missed field goal for them to get an opportunity to even be in the game. And then on the flip side, you have an Atlanta team that loses to Tampa, but they played way better than Tampa for most of that game. Their defense played very good. They only allowed 192 total yards through the first 3 quarters and only had one scoring drive of more than 52 yards allowed. They were putting a lot of pressure on Baker repeatedly. And then in the fourth quarter, the defense cracked a little bit. They generated a pressure rate of over 40%. That was way better than where it was last year. They had 9 different defenders generate at least one pressure. There were a couple of these weird plays with Michael Penix where he's like stretching out for the goal line and he's within like a yard or a half yard of scoring. Just felt like Atlanta should have won their game. Minnesota should not have won their game. And everyone's going to remember what we saw last, which was Monday Night Football, Minnesota winning, the feeling of them as this, maybe a playoff team again. I like Atlanta in this spot. This just, to me, feels like one of those spots that we talk about where you're selling on a team who's pretty high right now, and everybody saw them opening week Monday Night Football win.
What's going on with London? They're saying he's going to play already. That shoulder injury was bad. If he doesn't play at this,
then you're a different story.
Very interesting. Vikings should have lost week 1. Falcons were just inventing ways to lose. Are the Falcons pass rush going to be able to get home against McCarthy? When you look at McCarthy stats, not that impressive. Really not that impressive. What's going on in the kicking game? We need to remember that there's a kicking competition now. Koo missed that kick, had a bad year last year.
Yeah.
What is happening? Lots of uncertainty. Look, I'll be honest, both these teams I'm really not that high on. I will probably go to bed and not even watch this game, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Just because I'm like, I'm not going to go ahead and force anything.
If you're trying to fade both teams, sometimes it's just not the spot to play one of them.
And I'll be honest, last week, I bet the Ravens first half, that hit.
You went to sleep and you were dreaming good.
I was nestled asleep. I didn't even know what happened till the next day, and I was fine with it.
That's great. That is great. Yeah, I'll lean more on the Falcons in this one at the 3.5, playing against the Vikings a bit. We move to our final two games, Eric, 2 Monday night games this week, right? We've got Tampa at Houston. So Houston is a 2.5-point favorite in this game. Offensive line just looked so bad. And they tried to make some adjustments. Ed Ingram's out with injury before the game. Cam Robinson leaves. And then Jake Andrews is carted off. So you have those injuries during a game against a good defensive front like the Rams, you're in a little bit of trouble. And you pointed out the Rams took out Collins. So Stroud looked uncomfortable. He was sacked 3 times, hit 7 times. He was pressured on over 41% of his dropbacks. That's the 14th time he's had a pressure rate of 40% or higher since he entered the league. And that is tied for the most during that stretch since he entered. The offense just wasn't doing much early. I did think Nick Chubb looked better later in the game, just a little more healthy and like someone who you want to continue to, like, you can hand the ball off to. He wears you down though, so he gets a little stronger as the game goes on. I did like what Stroud said after the game. He kind of took responsibility and said, we didn't deserve to win that game. We didn't do the right things. When you come out of the Eric, I'm sure you've seen Bull Durham, right? So there's a great scene in Bull Durham when the team's losing a bunch and the coach is talking to Kevin Costner's character, Crash, and he says, man, I don't know what to do with these young kids. He says, they're young. You got to go scare them. And so the coach runs into the shower and he throws all the bats and he says, you're lollygagging to first and you're lollygagging here and you're lollygagging. We got a Stroud dropping a lollygagging in his post game here. He said they were lollygagging around, and I just started laughing because it reminded me of that great Bull Durham scene. But I do like when quarterbacks come out, talk like that. He blamed their attitude. He said it was a wake-up call. He said, we practiced this week. Not well. We have to practice better. I like all of those things coming into it. This one's a weird one for me. I don't really know what to do. Tampa didn't look that great. They kind of got away with one in week 1, and they're coming off of a great year. I think everybody just assumed Tampa is going to be this high-flying offense again, even without their offensive coordinator, who's now gone and is the head coach for Jacksonville. I kind of go back and forth on this one. Do you have a strong opinion?
Yeah, I took the Texans minus 2.5. When you look at the Bucs, there are 2 quarterbacks that had a turnover worthy rate of over 10%. Baker was one of them.
Yeah.
Texans kind of got you game plan, everyone's in line, and then right before you start, one of your interior offensive linemen gets rolled out. That's what happened to the Texans. I really feel that kind of messed with their offense as well. When we look at the success rate, Bucs had 0 business winning week 1. I have this little website I look at luck rankings, and the Bucs are graded out the luckiest team in the NFL. I expect the Texans are going to be able to attack the Bucs secondary. We need to remember this Bucs secondary is bad, like really bad. Rams double Nico Collins. I expect Texans are going to adjust how they use them. I think this is a must win for Houston. Houston cannot afford to go 0-2 in that.
No.
I the 8 ball. Falcons had a better success rate, more yards per play than the Bucs. 2 of their 3 touchdowns came off of explosive plays. They just weren't able to sustain any drives. The offense kind of looked a little stale with no Liam Cohen. They're not featuring Bucky Irvin out of the backfield. And more importantly, you're going up against Hunter and Anderson, and now you don't have Kristen Wirfs. That means one of those guys is always going to be matched up against Heckler, who's a severe downgrade. A severe downgrade from Wirfs, which isn't what you want to see. CJ in prime time. I just feel the Texans, this is a must-win game for them. If it's under 3 and 2.5, I would take it. And that's what I did.
I agree. That's Monday Night Football Game 1. One more to talk about. Before we do, because we're going to be finishing up soon, want to let everybody know about DRF Newbie. So if you're someone watching this stream and you're an NFL fan or you're a sports bettor and maybe you don't play the horse races all that often, Newbie is exactly what you're looking for, because what it will do is it makes the past performances way easier. It's not like you're looking at the racing form with all the different numbers and the black and white. This actually puts things into charts for you, and it shows you graphs. You can compare and contrast things like, who has the best early speed, who has the best late speed, who has the best jockey rating, who has the best trainer rating. So it makes it a little bit easier for people who don't know the races all that much or who are trying to start. Check it out. DRF Newbie, Horse Racing Simplified. Eric, we have one more game to discuss. We have the Raiders, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, giving that Raiders team some veteran leadership, and the Chargers, who are a 3-point favorite on the road here, playing the Raiders. Geno Smith led the Raiders to a touchdown early, overcame a first half interception, beat the Patriots on the road. He did get sacked 4 times, so that offensive line has to be a little bit better. The Raiders only won 2 games on the road last year, so they already got 1. And their defense in the second half was much better than I was hoping for, Eric. The Patriots didn't really find much of a flow offensively. There was pressure from Crosby, Tyree Wilson, Malcolm Kuntz. Coverage, I thought, was pretty good. Polamalu, who had a big interception. And Geno Smith had 362 passing yards. That was the most in a Raiders debut all time. A lot from Brock Bowers, who ends up leaving the game early. What do we know about him as we sit here on Wednesday? Oh, I think you're muted, Eric.
Oh, sorry, my mic got unplugged. Not as serious as expected. He's going to give it a go. He's in.
And the Chargers, really good week 1 offensively. They sort of unlocked Justin Herbert. He looked great. Keenan Allen was very good. 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. They got the most out of Quentin Johnson. Couldn't really run the ball, though, in that game. And you were talking about teams last year coming out of the Brazil game that you may want to play against, especially if they're a favorite coming out of that game where they may have some bumps and bruises off of a field where we saw a couple Chiefs players get hurt. I liked what I saw from the Raiders in week 1. I do wonder if the Chargers are a little bit overhyped coming off of the win against the Chiefs, because that always feels like winning 2 games when you beat the Chiefs. But is this a game where you go for the home dog here, the Raiders, home divisional dog at +3?
Again, I was able to find the 3.5. I took the Raiders. Packers and Eagles, like you mentioned it, they reference a long travel. I think that could be of effect with the Chargers following their win over the Chiefs in Brazil. And we look at Geno, the main thing, he just thrives in the indoors. 14 starts, 108.8 passer ranking, 2.14 TDs per start, 0.36 INT rate. When we look outdoors, 89.7 rating, 1.19 TDs, 0.86 INTs. So he's just way better in controlled elements. Obviously, that's where they're going to play in. Mahomes threw for 304 against this same defense. Home divisional dogs first 2 weeks, 62%. Divisional underdogs week 1 through 3. Week 1 through 3 with a head-to-head result between a 19-point loss or a 6-point win, 79%. And look, we all talk about Mike Tomlin, and I do too, as a dog. Pete Carroll, just a casual 61% against the number. Chargers defense allowed 4.7 yards per carry, ranked 30th in goal line stop rate. I kind of think Gentry is going to have a nice little bounce back game. Didn't look that good against the Patriots. I think that a nice little bounce back is in store for him. And the main thing for me is the Chargers were 28th in success rate. The run game struggled. They could not get that run game going at all. Pipkin is going to be matched up against Matt Crosby. Crosby is going to be able to get in the backfield. I think the trenches advantage that's the biggest in the game is the Raiders defensive line against that Chargers offensive line. I think Crosby's going to be able to get to the backfield. I think if people are a little too high on the Chargers, buying low, selling high, we're selling the Chargers this week. I expect this game to be a 3-point thing.
Eric, we will be here getting everybody ready for NFL each and every week. For me, I'm going to go through a couple plays that I like and then give us maybe like 3 or so of your plays that you're looking at. Jets, definitely looking to target the Jets in the game against the Bills. Look for the best number you can find there. There were 7s up previously. The Colts against the Broncos, that's one of my favorite plays on the week. Look for the best number you could find there. You and I both talked about the Seahawks against the Steelers. I'm looking at that one. And then a couple other games that were on my radar that weren't quite as much on Eric's. Jags at the plus 3.5. Probably going to sprinkle some on the Chiefs as a dog. And then looking at Atlanta also plus the 3.5. Eric, we just talked about the Chargers. That's definitely going to be a game where we're playing the Raiders against them as the home dog. Who are some of the others that you're looking for?
Houston minus 2.5. Miami on the money line. You already mentioned the Jets, so I will go with Seattle plus the 3.
Eric, we will be following you at ETOF21 Sports and at ETOF21 all over the place. He gave us a winner in college football last week also with Iowa plus the 3.5 in that game against Iowa State. So we'll be watching for any college plays from you, and we'll be wishing you the best of luck this week in the NFL, my friend. Good luck.
Good luck to you, my friend.
Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out. Make sure you head on over to the Daily Racing Form sports betting section. You just click on Bet on Sports, and you can check out all those sportsbook offers up to $5,000 in offers you could claim.